We are live. Welcome to the March edition of the Baltimore SharePoint Users Group. I'm Shadidi Laser, and we're going to get into this session this evening. As I share my screen, this is the March edition of the Baltimore SharePoint Users Group. As we begin to record, for those of you who are tuning in to this broadcast for the first time, or you're new to this group as we are currently meeting virtually, I am Shadidi Laser. I'm co-founder of this group and current acting president. Let's get into the monthly announcements before we go into our featured presentation for the evening, one that I'm looking forward to. So if you're looking to automate your solutions, save time, streamline your workflow using AI Builder and or Power Automate, this is the session for you. Uh, there's so many instances and use cases that this particular presentation can apply to. You can utilize AI Builder and the tandem of Power Automate for your Office apps. You can use it for platforms such as SharePoint and or Teams. But in this particular session, you're going to be able to ask questions and get the insight that you need in order to go back to your work center and be more efficient and effective. So, when we talk about what is Baltimore SharePoint Users Group, Maryland's longest running Microsoft focused community learning institution. There are many groups that have been around, but I'm proud of the fact that every third Thursday, rain, sleet, hail, snow, whether we have to wear masks or not, or whatever the situation scenario may be, there is a meeting. Now, the only exception to that is every third Saturday, once a year, when we host our annual conference, which we're looking to bring back this year. Over 6,000 Microsoft professionals have passed through our monthly meetings and or conferences and have sought training, achieved training and or certification through our certification partners. We're going to work in with greater campaigns on training and certification for 2025. Lots of great things in store via our resource partners. So the user group itself has been a great starting point for many professionals, but the question is always how can we take that influence that the group may have in the local market and around, let's say, the Mid-Atlantic region, and start to help our members achieve more. And I'm looking to answer that as we move forward. In 29 Microsoft solo practices started within our membership ranks. So this could have been an individual who may have an ambition to start their own practice. Let's say they were a senior developer and they partnered up with other team members or user group members and started a practice. And so there's several high-level partners that Microsoft partners that have started from within the BSPUG community. One fact that I'm very proud of. Special thanks to ProObject, once rated the one of the top 100 places to work in the state of Maryland. and our streaming partners. So this broadcast is currently streaming to LinkedIn, five different uh, organizations, let's say for within Facebook Live, uh, also X.com, formerly known as Twitter. And also, did I mention LinkedIn? Also LinkedIn. So streaming to all of those platforms. Special thanks to the organizations, whether nonprofits or otherwise, who are carrying our streams. Those of you who may be retweeting. The ground rules for this specific presentation is I will be in the background once our featured presentation begins. And then we'll, any questions that come across in terms of on social media, I will have my monitors and dashboard up. And so at specific intervals throughout the session, I will take your questions and get them answered from our featured guest expert of the evening. Now, career dashboard. When we talk about career dashboard, this is our effort to ensure that our members are gainfully employed, whether as full-time employees on contracts or federal government employment. And so, if you're a member of Baltimore SharePoint, meaning you've attended a user group meeting, either in person or virtual, or you've attended our annual conference. We've hosted 13 or 14 of them. You have access to resume and LinkedIn services. So get your profile rewritten, get your LinkedIn updated, and we're working on finalizing a user group to career pipeline, meaning if you're a member of the user group and you have the credentials, we have hiring partners, resource partners who are willing to grant you an interview and or career coaching to help you with the next step. So stay tuned as I'll be hosting a open house information session in order to help you learn more about this upcoming opportunity. Now, community news and events. We currently have Boston Code Camp 38, the 38th Boston Code Camp happening on March 29th. Code camps are excellent ways to network within a community and learn the latest best practices in custom development within, let's say, the Microsoft community. It's also a great platform to get your public speaking skills up to speed. So I highly recommend and highly support Code Camp events and Boston Code Camp. If you're in Maryland, you just hop on Amtrak and head up the road and enjoy Boston Code Camp. Next, Community Days Philly. The organizers for formerly known as SharePoint Saturday Philly have regrouped, reloaded, and are bringing you Community Days Philadelphia. This will be August 26th. And so that will be a great event. I know the call for speakers is closed, but your attendee tickets are still available again. Uh, Another trip on Amtrak, and this is going to be in Malvern, Pennsylvania. And so join that event and take part. And the Microsoft 365 Community Conference will be taking place in Las Vegas on May the 4th. And you can find out all these details at communitydays.org. Call for speakers. We are filling up our call for speaker lineup for 2025 and beyond. And so next month we have a great featured speaker. But if you are looking to deliver your presentation for Baltimore SharePoint audience in our live stream community, here are the topics that we are looking for. So technical deep dive can be anywhere from 45 to 55 minutes. We also have break fix, meaning you received a trouble ticket, and this was the scenario and the steps that you took to bring that solution back online and the lessons learned along the way. And speaking of lessons learned, so it could be a deployment, it could be an installation, it could be update, it could be building a solution or an app. The lessons you've learned, the best practices you've applied, and how it made you better as a professional. Sessions do not need to be 45 minutes. My first presentation in the Microsoft community was actually on the first version of DocAv. And so I was covering SharePoint backup and recovery. It was only 10 minutes. This was in Northern Virginia. And so, Falls Church to be exact, for those history experts out there. So, you definitely want to submit a session. I've been part of every single presentation of this group. So, I will make sure that you are delivering the most effective message so that you don't get bad comments on social media. And so, yes, call for speakers. Reach out to me directly, either on any of the platforms that you are viewing this broadcast. Like I said, once our featured presentation begins, I will step to the background and I will be moderating the comments to make sure there are no additional questions. And so I bring to the stage the dev lead for the great city of Baltimore, and Vakul is going to be delivering how to build smarter automation using AI Builder and Power Automate. This gentleman is a longtime member of Baltimore SharePoint. I don't even remember when he became a member. It's been so long. And so he does a lot in the community with STEM, with mentorship, and has a very strong mission in terms of technology and its impact in making a difference, not only in the solutions he builds, but also empowering the next generation. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and bring this gentleman to the stage. How are you? How are you?
Doing good, Shadid, and thanks for such kind words. And I would want to start my presentation by saying that I've started coming to this group almost 15 years ago. That
Whoa.
time we started looking at Mars and other things, and I can say that I've learned so much. And I can even vouch for something that it inspired some interest on SharePoint. And at this point, if I'm using Power Automate in my day-to-day operations, it's because of this group. And
Wow.
um, and I've learned so much, and I've seen and I've met so many great people there and learned so many things. So I would like to really thank Shadid for maintaining this for so long. And I remember I used to come to that in-person sessions and seeing everyone that networking was one of the best thing that we used to learn a lot. So with that, I'll start sharing my screen and go ahead into my presentation. So,
Okay, take it away.
all right. So, can I start? Um,
Yeah, so share at the bottom.
okay. So, all right. Let me know if you're seeing this. And I'll
I can
start.
see we have looks like City Hall.
Yes. This is where I work, and I want to start by saying, like, I'm Vakul, and I work for the city of Baltimore, and I work for the DevOps team there, and My focus lately has been mostly on Power Platform, and I've been building many of the apps which we were building in .NET applications. Now we're coming back to Power Automate and making sure that it's low code, no code solutions. And then we've been really successful in automating some of the processes which need quick turnaround. And we started working on some of those. And most of the agencies have started realizing the power of this, and they started using um, Power Platform and embracing it with two hands. Like, they started liking it. So let me go to the um, introduction. Now, AI, now you're talking, there's a lot of AI stuff, like, AI buzz is going on. There's so many careers which are being built on AI now. There are new roles which are coming, prompt engineering role, AI engineer role, and there's so many roles which are coming. And anyone who is working in a Microsoft platform or a Microsoft ecosystem or a Microsoft shop, they would love it because with the Microsoft integration with ChatGPT and with all the stuff which is happening, we are getting into that phase where we can utilize that AI along with ChatGPT and be current. So we had Power Automate for a while now, like, we've been using, and it has gained more momentum as we are using. And with Power Automate and the AI Builder, you can actually go ahead and build some very simple solutions that are very impactful for different workflows. And the good part of this is you don't need any coding skills. You need to start. I mean, anyone can start working on this one. And we have successfully trained a few non-IT folks into using this one. And some of them have started actually even building, learning, and they are even learning JSON and other stuff now. So it creates that interest. When you say citizen developer, it's not just a term. It's like many people are actually started using it. So what is this AI builder? And again, as I said, it's a low code AI tool in Power Platform. And there are different types of automation which you can do. Like, you can do the document processing, you can do the image recognition, like, the cards, I mean, the visiting cards. And with the data you have with the historical information, you can do some predictions. And most of my focus would be on the local government, but I think that can be expanded to any platforms. Like, you can use it in the commercial setup too. But I'm trying to give you some examples on how we actually leveraged this Power Platform and some of the different use cases. So now, as we say, we are very good in using Power Platform, and it works very seamlessly. You can actually integrate that with Power Automate, Power Apps, Teams, and anything which you're working on. So, and I'll give you some examples as we move around on how we utilize that and how it was really impactful. So now, as I said, it's seamless integration. And there are two types of models which are there. There are some pre-built, like which are ready to use. Like, you go there and you could actually start building these within 5 minutes. Some are like, you can start building those within 10 minutes. Once you know the stuff, like, you can go and be productive. For some applications which need 3 months, 2 months to build, would take 2 days to build, and they're more effective. And there are also some custom AI models where you can actually cater your organizational needs that you can actually train AI. For example, I mean, I'm going to give that example later about the invoices. Like, you have a specific invoices which are coming. Most of this pre-built AI models would be easily integrated into your work process, but you can also use custom AI models if you want to train and if you want to use it for your organization needs. So um, the biggest capability of this AI builder, as you say, for the AI is it continuously improves. Like, as you provide your user feedback, it keeps learning. So I would show one small example about training while when we jump into the demo, but there we are actually seeing on how you continuously improve the models. Now, as I said, I'm going to show in the demo is like form processing. you can detect the objects, you can do the prediction, and you can do the sentiment analysis. And once I go to the use cases, you could actually see all of this, maybe except for form processing and object. We are more related to prediction and sentiment analysis. So why use AI Builder with Power Automate? Like, there are some repetitive tasks that you do. And I'll give one example as a small tidbit. Like, let's say you get a invoice, or you get a tax information, or you process 800-page document every 6 months or every year, or it can be a tax, or it can be any document. And for that to process, normally there would be 5 or 6 members or 6 staff members who are working on it. And there is a problem of human errors. They try to enter it into an Excel sheet, looking at the PDF, and then it's not efficient. Like, you're spending more time in it and you don't know whether you're doing any errors on it. And then there should be some emails. Once you process it, there should be an email. So while all of these are manual processes, you want to actually automate that. And most of the automation and most of the government agencies now need digital transformation. And we are actually using, and this helps in automating all of these repetitive tasks. And let me go to the next slide. Okay, here's the fun part. Now I'll try to explain some of the real world use cases that some of them are being worked on and some of them are actually completed. So let's say we have an invoice. So there is an invoice. There are invoices coming from 7 different vendors for the work which is being done in the city or in general for any organization. So we know that we have 7 vendors sending 7 different invoices. And when they send an email of invoices, or we give them a site where they can upload their invoices, or we automate in a process where you can drop those invoices into a document library or in a OneDrive or wherever it is, we should have a process where it triggers, it looks into that document, it looks at the invoice, extracts the information, and creates a record. It can be an Excel record, it can be a SharePoint automate, it can be a Dataverse, or it can be a SQL database. And then informs the user that, hey, we have an invoice and it is added, and someone has actually sent the email. What we have done till now is maybe sending an email based on the email that you're using Power Automate, but now integrating AI Builder with the Power Platform would make it more powerful because it's going to automate the whole process. And I'm going to show a small example as we go into the example for this local government automation of the invoice processing. And now, like, there is something called sentiment analysis for the emails. So now there is one pre-built AI Builder model where you actually can integrate that into some email coming. Let's say you are requesting a user to send your feedback to certain email, like, support at some xyz.com, support at baltimorecity.gov. So when they send these emails, some of them might be angry, some of them might be appreciative, some of them are neutral when they're trying to send this feedback. So what happens is with this sentiment analysis, we like positive feedback, that's good. But when you get some negative sentiment, some people are really mad about how we're doing bad. So what you do is you go there, add this sentiment analysis for that mailbox, use this AI model and alert the right users and respond to that immediately. And this can be applied to any use case scenario. And now, okay, we talk about 311 and 911. 311 is generally like, about the city services, like trash pickup or some road has some pothole and all of those things. So based on, like, if you see there are millions of calls coming to the 500,000 of calls coming to the city government or any government setup about finding the status, finding the water bill, and all of this. So there 311 folks are really busy. And now, to make it more effective, to train the users, train the employees who are actually taking the calls, they need to know they need to know about the prediction. Like, they need to know which one has more probability. Let's say there are more people calling about the water bills, the more people calling about the potholes, then and you act accordingly. So that was one of the other use case that we could actually use, like, based on the data. And I'll show you one other example where you could actually build on your own, not being working in the city or anything. There's some open data which is available. If you want to play around with that, you could actually take that data and build a model and try to see how it works. Now, as I given an example about processing multiple tax records. So there is a case where there are 800 pages of tax records of everyone coming, and that needs to be processed. So how are you going to extract that? How are you going to work on this one? For that, this AI model is going to be really good, and it's been done as a proof of concept, and it worked really well. Is it can process 800 pages document and build an Excel sheet for you, and all the employees who are working in the finance department are very well versed with an Excel, and they can take it up rather than looking into each document and validating it, each page and validating in the PDF. They can go directly and start working on those. So, I mean, these are one of the use cases, like, these are the real time use cases. And they are, like, in an agency, there might be multiple purchase order requisitions. And sometimes all of these requisitions are sent in an email. No one can track it. No one knows where the status is. And then we actually use Power Automate to actually automate this whole process. But by adding the AI models, it made it a lot more easier and saved a lot of time for the finance or for the fiscal folks to actually go in and make a decision so fast. So in on an average, it used to take 8 days to process one purchase order. Now it takes 1 day, max 2 days to process. And that's actually increasing the efficiency of the whole process. Now, again, as I said, prediction analysis, the 311 calls. There is one other really good data set that we are trying to plan. I mean, that's on the personal note, is annual arrests. Like, Baltimore Police Department does some arrests on what are the different data sets? How many are arrested on different categories of crime? How many are arrested in a particular zip code? How many are arrested in how many are really serious cases, and all of that. So based on that, you can actually predict and channelize your resources. And there's one other use case where you're actually looking at energy utilization. It's getting more and more costlier on how different buildings are utilizing the energy. And we have different vendors who are actually working on this energy utilization, and all of those files come in at one particular time. They have different jobs dropping into SFTP location. All of those comes into one, consolidating them and coming up with a data forecasting. And can go on and on about how to use Power Platform. There are some conference, a procurement conference, which is being hosted by the city. And those exhibitors, there are a few exhibitors, there are like 100 plus exhibitors who come to that procurement conference. And we could leverage by using automation of this AI models. And we used to use Power Automate. Now we can actually use the automation using AI models based on the applications they send, based on the validation they send. So all of these real world use cases are actually used to make sure that we are utilizing this AI in the proper way to improve the efficiencies. Now, when you're talking about using a pre-built model, there is something called labeling and the training data. So when you're using the custom AI models, most of the cases, pre-built models would be the best case scenarios where you can actually use. But for your more personalized needs, you can actually use custom AI models. There's something called labeling, and I'm actually going to show that too. And those clearly labeled data would improve the efficiency, like the accuracy. And we actually didn't use much of it, but actually these are really helpful. Like, and as we started using more and more diverse data, we actually started seeing very, very good training, and the performance of that AI model started increasing, and it also started giving more accurate results. And I'll actually move forward and show that. Um, Let me go back to the demo, and we'll come back and um, talk about the licensing and other things as we come back. So dive into the um, let's dive into the demo part. So let me go ahead and stop sharing the screen for a quick second. Um,
But really quickly, a question.
yeah,
Lisa from YouTube asked, are there any limitations to AI Builder that new users should be aware of?
yes. I'm gonna come up with that. One of the big problem with all of this is you never know how many credits you're using. So you have to keep monitoring your usage. And you have, I mean, again, I think I'm still sharing. Um, in that part, when you are, am I still sharing, Sudhir?
You have your PowerPoint slide of AI
Yes.
build licensing and
Yes.
AI Builder credits.
Yes. I'm coming to that point where all of these models use varying credits. And I'm going to show a site where how the credit works. So let's say, yeah, I mean, we have 18 invoices that are processed in a day, and that takes about 540 invoices a month. And then those use roughly 2,700 credits. And depending on your license model, if you're using Power Apps license, premium licensing, Power Platform premium licensing, you get some credits. And that credits are based on the tenant level, and some of them are in the environment, environment level. So, in short answer is there are some pitfalls in this, and sometimes it gets really costly if you don't watch it carefully. And most of the systems, if you're using a custom based model, some of the custom based models might not be properly configured or properly built, and that might take more credits. So we have seen when you're using the custom based model for the big, large data sets, it's going to take a lot more credits. Um, I mean, again, depending on your need, you are looking at ROI, like and most of the cases, for the small things like 18 invoices a day, one time in a year process, you can still use the credits and start working on those. So again, depends on how you're using. Um, I hope that answered the question, but let me go back and
Yes.
okay, cool. Um, all right, so if this is a screen, let me come back here and minimize my PowerPoint. And okay, so let's come to the um, Power Platform. Now, I'm going to show something which is on the government tenant. So as you can see, it's make.gov. So when you're looking at the government tenant and when you're coming back to the regular ones, you would be surprised on how many we actually see. There's um, so many models which are shown on the commercial tenant just because it has to go through the stricter data residency and privacy requirements. So we are actually looking at something called extract information from invoices. So this is the model, which is a pre-built model that we were actually trying to use, and this actually fit the requirement perfectly on the way we wanted. So the use case here was there was invoices coming in, and there were multiple line items in that. And the regular invoice processing was very easy on trying to get there and just try to get the information. But when you have multiple line items, it was really tough to get that information to process. So there were two solutions. One was to use C Sharp, to get process. I mean, look into that, get the process. I mean, get the all the line items, dump it into the SQL Server. And then while we were researching, we found this one where it is a document processing model where you have multiple invoices and you add those invoices, like, and you actually model them. So you could actually use your pre-built model directly in an app or in a flow, or you can create your custom model. So as we are talking about the custom model, I have something which has still issues and I left it just for the reason on how we're going to do it. So this is in the draft mode, but I'm going to show you why it was still left and there were some issues in there. As we opened this, what we did was we had some, let's say, 8 vendors coming in. And what you do is, there you go. So we have different invoices. Now you come back here, you're actually looking at some of the invoices which are coming directly from the Microsoft itself. They give us some things, but as you move forward, when you go to the information extract, by default, most of these are already processed by Microsoft, and it actually did a very good job in trying to get all the items. As you can see, by default, any items which are in those would be moved into this. And you are actually looking at 29 different fields. And then you can actually add some of the fields which are configurable for you. Like, if you're trying to capture the signature, if you're trying to capture some date field, you can still add. But in most of the cases, in most of the invoices which we tried, the default model actually worked. This custom was to just show for the demo. So as we move forward, as you can see, you can create a collection. This collection would be mostly like a template where you can add multiple things, multiple documents. And once you add multiple invoices, which are like different templates, these are more like templates that you are adding. Then once those documents are added, 5 is the minimum for the collection. And then you go to that, there is something called tagging. These tagging of the documents are making sure that you're teaching that it is correctly processing. So if you see this one, and if I'm highlighting on purchase order number, it's highlighting something here. So the mapping it done by default is this one. So you either go there and you can actually remove that tag if it is not properly tagged, or you can leave it, or you can not available in this collection. So we go ahead and review each one of these. And in most of the cases, it actually picked. So now if you see this one, and I'm trying to do here is this continue tagging is like you go and sometimes you tag this to the vendor address. So most of these are to actually train this model to see if they are working fine, like most of these cases. And as we move forward, like, if you see the line items, they are all coming correctly. And just make a note that this is a custom model. I mean, even with the pre-built model, it's very easy to process this one. And then all you do is next, and this is the one. So sometimes you have some of the tags which are not right, and then you would have to go back and train that. So as we move forward, and if you see all of the 5 documents which we uploaded had shipping address and shipping address recipient. So you are putting in diverse documents, like in a different set of documents which are not matching. And then once you clear this error about the collection in the model with the default tags, and I deliberately put in that, and then once you come back, delete those, and then this training happens. Like once you click on a train, this train will actually prepare your model to be used. And this is specifically for your own data sets, like for your own documents. And then once the train is done, the model will be ready, and then you can actually use it. And as you can see here, anything, I'm not gonna correct it right now, but as you can see, when you go to the AI models, you could actually see that one already available. And when you go back and use this, you can directly use that and you can even set the expiration date for that. But for this model, for this demo today, I've actually chosen predict extract information. This is a pre-built model. It actually worked really well for us. And I'm actually using the sample invoices that you could actually use. So let me come to the flow. Let me give you the scenario on how this works. So we went there, created document library called invoices, and it has a name of the document, and it is attached to it. And you can have the status, and you can actually go back and change the status to any of this: pending approval, approved, paid, or rejected. And then amount due, profile, the vendor name, and when is the invoice date, and when is the due date. And obviously, this is again a inbuilt one. Whenever it is due date, it becomes red, and you have the order details. So now what happens is, the model which I'm trying to demo today is, when you come here, when a file is created, when a file is created in this site, in this library, it actually gets the file content, which is the PDF which is entered. And I'm using the pre-built model to get the data which is in that file content, and that can be an invoice. And once that is received, we have a model, and you're actually extracting that information and adding it to the document library. And there is an extension to this. I'm stopping here just in the interest of the time, but there are different things where once this is done, all of this information is put into a SharePoint list. It can be put into an Excel sheet. It can be put into a Dataverse table. And then you build a Power Automate on top of it. It's almost like an approval workflow. It can be just a list with an email going to the right person. And depending on type of that invoice, you can actually trigger an email sent to the right person. And all of that can be automated using Power Automate. And once that is done, all you have to do is just work on this one. So I'm going to show a simple demo on that one on how this can be done. All I'm going to do here is upload. And I'm going to upload something which says invoices. And I'm going to go any invoice, let's say purchase orders. I think, let me go for something 20% tax. I'm going to go 20 tax 7. And it's already done. So file 7, or okay, I'll go for 10 and open. And what's happening is, this document is already available. And once it is uploaded, there is something that's going to happen behind the scenes, is this is being processed with Power Automate. And as soon as we've done that, we actually invoke this one, and it will actually go in and try to get all the details which are in here. And it takes normally 1 minute, around 1 minute to actually start and finish these things. And then you could actually see all of this information coming here. And that would be the demo. I think you could do, there are multiple options as you move forward on how to use that and how to implement in the way you want. It can be customizable, it's robust and everything. So as we do it here, let me run this. And if you see, it's running. And what happens at this point is, a file is added, file content is received, and this is the name, and it is processing. And all of this information is being captured. Now it is processed, and it will be saved into the invoices library. So we just went back there and did that. And now once we come back to the site and just do a refresh, you actually got that. You got the amount due, which is the vendor, invoice date, and the due date. Now, as we move forward, and I'm again using a simple demo here, you come back here, you can add any contact here. Like, I can come back in editing grid view. You can add, as you can see, you can add here, and then that would be it. And then depending on the order details and other things, this can be extended to actually go and add as a list, as an Excel, and into the SharePoint. So with that, I think this is the capabilities on how to use that. But as we move back again to the AI models, so there are many things that are actually using the credit. Some of these, as I talked about, the future predict outcomes from the historical data. So now what happens in this one is, as I talked about, okay, let me share the screen and talk about data.baltimore.gov. So this is what I wanted to show is, if this is one of the open data platform, which is offered by the city of Baltimore again, is like if you go for 311, as you can see, there are certain requests which are coming from different years. And you go back and if you say date updated, and these are 2025, these are 2024, click on that. And you could actually get all of the details, and you can download the data set in CSV format, and then you can play around with that. And you can actually do the prediction analysis. I think we are actually planning to work on that, but the records are too high. And as we move forward, this is one of the idea on how to use these prediction future outcomes. And there is one other thing, like customer feedback, and you're getting some customer feedback on different things on, let's say, they're not happy about those things. We can use this pre-built model to analyze the text. Very angry that you're not updating my or something like that, and it actually shows that it is an issue. So now as you go, this is just a confidence score of 59. Sometimes it might not work, sometimes it works. But as you move forward, and if you see random sample, you actually get all of this. And this model is to actually look at your different text, try to use it before they are providing you all of this. And as you say, pleasant experience, it is a compliment. So based on what customer feedback we get, if it is like a negative feedback, you can process and send an email to other one. That's one of the other use case that we can actually build on this one. So coming back again to our AI builder credits. Now, all of these are credit-based system, and these are renewed monthly based on your subscription. And as you're using different models, like, invoice processing would take around 5 credits. And if you are trying to get a handwritten thing, that might take 6 credits. So depending on which model you're using, you get varying credits. And a free trial is available for you if you want to try, but you should have a school or a work account. And the biggest thing is, like, you have to use this one. That's one of the alert that if you are not careful about your whole process, you might actually use up all of your credits for your whole tenant. And you have to be very careful about that and keep monitoring the usage. And as you can see here, there is a number of AI Builder credits on how many you're getting. Like, there are some AI Builder add-on credits. You get number of credits. If, like, there are none rules, but if you are, like, let's say most of the users would go for Power Automate Premium, and you're getting this amount per tenant. So number of credits are 5,000, and they're coming in the units. So while you're doing this, be careful while you're processing this. Even for playing around in the test environment, some of the credits will be gone. So just be careful while you're using this one. and make a note, and you keep working with your Power Platform administrator to make sure that you are actually using it for the right purposes. And with that, I think I done with that. And Shri, have you seen any questions now?
Yes, one moment. Yes, have to go to different screens here. Uh, okay. Um, Raj from YouTube asked, for those already using Power Automate, what is the easiest way from your perspective? Because there's more than one way to accomplish anything, to integrate AI Builder into existing workflows.
Okay, so again, I think I'll have to go back and start sharing the screen again to show how that works. Is if you are in the Power Platform, you're lucky that you could actually integrate directly. So you go to the AI models, and as I showed, let me come back to the screen share again. I'll go to that page and share the screen again. Okay, here's the one. So whenever you are seeing some of the pre-built model, you go to that pre-built model and you click on that. And when you say use pre-built model, you are, oh, I'm actually sharing. Okay, maybe I was,
Okay, I can see it now.
okay.
Yes.
So whenever you're using any of the, okay, let me start from the beginning that any of the pre-built model which you're trying to use, click on that and go for the drop down and try to say use in your flow and use in your app. But what happens is there's one other alert. Whenever you're using this, your app or your flow would become premium because you're actually using the AI model, and this is for the premium users. So that's one of the thing, and it will start taking the credits. So even if you're processing as a Power Automate flow, it still takes the premium credits. So whenever you're using, you could actually, if you're using in Power Automate, it's very seamless. You go there, try to use in your app, and it's straightforward. And if you say, like, let's say I want to use it in a flow, it actually creates one of the flow for you. And I'm showing you now on how you could directly use that. As you can see, Microsoft Dataverse, Office 365, and once you get the permissions, all it does is it creates one thing for you. And you can actually go back and save it. Like, you can rename it with some name, and you can start playing around with that. I mean, you can click on the test, and as you can see, automatically or manually test, you actually get a flow. It's permission. So you can actually import an invoice file here and start using it. So if ever you want to use a pre-built form, you can, if you want to play around with that, you could actually use the pre-built model, and it gives you, right now it's showing as a manually trigger, but you can add your own steps here, and you can let this AI model use this. And in this model, it's actually taking the invoice file. It can be a PDF, JPG file. It's going to process it. It's going to actually then extract the description and different items and then send you an email. They are doing all of this for you along with the confidence level and everything. So if ever you want to use it, you could just go ahead and start using it in few minutes, like now.
Okay. We have this is a good question, especially when you talk about agency work. And so John from Twitter asked, how does AI Builder handle security and compliance, especially for organizations dealing with sensitive data?
So we, especially when you're going with the government data, you have to go with some like specific regulations, and you're going with some security standards. So you being in a Gov tenant itself has so many restrictions. Like, I think we talked that in multiple sessions here, that most of the government tenant apps, like, things which you're seeing in the commercial tenant would take a year, sometimes a year and a half to come to the Gov tenant. And because it has to pass many of the FedRAMP certifications and all of that to make sure that it is actually having, it's actually meeting all of this privacy requirements and also like the data residency. So when you're talking about these data, this data is more secure and it's not shared with any of the commercial tenants. So in other words, the first thing is the Gov tenant is taking care of most of the data. It's more secure. The second one is you have to be more aware of not using any of the PII information. Like know that there are some tax information. Some of the data can be redacted depending on how you're using. And that again comes back to the AI training and AI guidelines are being used for different organizations. But one has to be more personally responsible on which data is being fed into this, though it is on your own tenant, and they are different environments, like depending on like as I'm showing here. I mean, I didn't show the screen yet, but um, they are different environments which are being used in different environments, like different tenants. So you actually compartmentalize all of your flows and AI processes within those to make it more secure even within your organization. That's another complete different session on how to use environments and how to use pipelines on make sure that you have dev, test, and prod. But there are quite a few good good documentation available on how to use all of this. I think that's a completely different session on different type of security and best use cases on the security of using Power Automate. That was a good question.
Okay. We have from Smita, how do you call an AI model in Power Automate?
As I said, in Power Automate, if you have the permissions, if you have the license of AI Builder license, as soon as you go, there is a premium things like when you're looking for the SharePoint, when you're looking for Outlook actions, you can also look for the AI Builder actions, and then once you start typing those, it will start popping up. So just if you don't see it right now, please make sure that you have proper licensing before you do that.
Okay. What do you consider? This is Chris from Facebook. A lot of different social media platforms here. Good questions. What are your favorite or recommended AI model to use in AI Builder for the task of document processing and approvals?
Document processing, like let's say we're even taking the invoices here, and I think there is some other thing called extracting the custom information. I'm actually seeing the screen right now here about extracting custom information from the documents. It is a custom model, and we've seen that it's taking a lot of credits when we are trying to use it. So I would say for now, for the things which we did, extracting information from invoices actually saved a lot of time. We were actually trying to use Azure, we are trying to use C# code. We need to do the review, and we're trying to create an Azure app within within Office 365. And then by using this, it actually is in some cases very simplified. We might use two different ways. Nothing is bad. There's nothing like a good solution, but I feel using AI actually gave a very satisfying experience on extracting the information from invoices. You write like 800 lines of code to actually get the information, create Azure app, account, and all of that for your application. And then you come back here, just try to add few of your invoices templates and train it, and it starts working in the way you want. That's pretty amazing. And I really loved using extracting information from invoices. But as you see, the government tenant has very limited models, but I've seen with my own personal account on the commercial tenant, those are crazy good. And there are many things which are in that. My goal, the next goal is to actually use predictive analytics, and those predictive analytics for different crime data, or it can be even your favorite sports. Like, you actually look at your NFL records, history, and try to come up with some model. So that's my personal thing. And I'm very excited about that. You don't have to be a machine learning expert to actually use any of these.
Ah, excellent. Okay. Let me see. Any other questions? Um, okay. This is another more or less compliance question. What are your recommendations for building governance documentation around the solutions that are built through AI Builder?
To be honest with this, I've not seen many of the um, much of documentation around AI Builder. There are some, like, you go for learn.microsoft.com and get some of the documentation. We have actually used this for this one, but for the Microsoft Power Platform, I mean, there are so many documentation. Like, we have one person from YouTube, Reza, and there's one other person who I actually follow almost every day. I go to his profile to see if there are any new documents coming in. I'll try to get his name, but there are few folks who are actually presenting and providing some of the information on all of this every day. But unfortunately, I don't have the information on the best practices for this AI model. The only thing which I heard was making sure that you have the credits and work very closely with your Power Platform admin, because it sometimes gets out of your control. So um, I'm not sure, but I'll try to see if I can find anything. And I don't know, Shadid can actually add it anywhere in any of the communications.
Yes, definitely. Okay, those are the questions from people tuning in on social media. So yes, this was a excellent session. Great walkthrough, great demos, and on behalf of Baltimore SharePoint. Thank you for delivering this session, taking the time to do so. You have a great camera too. This I have to message you separately. You have a very good setup. So once again, thank you for educating us on AI Builder and how it integrates with Power Automate to build solutions.
Great. Thank you, Shadid, for everything. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you. The replay will be published and will be available on social media, also through Baltimore SharePoint email list. Uh, Thank you for tuning in this month. Tune in third Thursday in April for our next meeting and featured presenter.